Hello, everybody. Welcome to this CleanCloud webinar, which is part of our Everboarding series. We're continuing on with this series to make sure that we're giving training to all of our current customers to make sure they don't miss out and that they are adopting the features that we offer in the best way possible. My name is Giuseppe. You might have already heard of me before and seen me in other webinars and so on throughout the years. I also go by Gigi, by the way, so feel free to call me Gigi whenever you like. And I'm joined here with Leonard today, who's our onboarding team lead. So thank you so much, Leonard, for being here. And Leonard will be helping out with the chat today in terms of questions and so on that you will, of course, have about some of the features that we will be covering. Obviously, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from. We're very proud to have such a big community of customers from all over the world. So it's always great to see you here and great for you to share where you're from as well and say hello. So we have a chat function. I can see some of you already have, I believe, said hello already, which is great to see. A reminder, of course, that this is being recorded. It will be shared with you, of course, once the webinar has finished. It should just be sent to your email directly. And as mentioned, of course, you can send your questions in the chat box and we will do our best to respond. I will try and take a pause, by the way, at the end of each major topic to allow for some more room for questions. What can happen is that you ask a question, you miss another part of what is being mentioned. Of course, you can always go back and rewatch it, right? But if you want to kind of hold your questions for those pauses, then feel free to do so. Note them down. But if you are obviously wanting to send them in the meantime, you can obviously do that. But I will, just so you know, take pauses for questions. So what else do we have otherwise today? Well, today we're going to be covering the following. So we'll be covering marketing opt-ins, we'll be covering marketing campaigns, email templates, review management, and also a quick introduction to our CleanCloud website builder for those of you that have not seen this before. We'll get into some more details in a moment. I just wanted to quickly have a look at the chat and then I'll go into the presentation I have here for you today. I'll be sharing my screen, of course. Thank you so much to everyone, of course, for joining. Thank you so much for saying hello in the chat. It's always great to see. Even I can see Casey, I spoke to very recently as well in an onboarding session. So hello, hello to you. Hello, I can see Shaquille as well. I spoke to recently. But there's a lot of familiar faces, of course, here. So it's great to see a lot of you here, and I'm thrilled to be your host, of course. So let's get the show on the road, I guess. What I'll do is I will be sharing my screen with you. I will be covering, as mentioned, of course, here, marketing opt-in to begin with, which is an important point, so I definitely wanted to make that the first point of today's webinar. So without further ado, I'll be sharing my screen. For Leonard, this time I'll make sure to hit that that spotlight feature that last time I would at times forget to do. But anyway, so I'm going to be sharing my screen and let's get this going. Okay, let me know. I believe you should be able to see my screen. Let me just make sure I have the spotlight on. Let me just do that. Can you guys see, by the way, Leonard? I mean, are you seeing my screen well? Is it appearing well, or what's going on? Just to double check.
Looks good.
Looks good? Okay, all right. So we said to begin with, we're going to talk about, of course, marketing opt-in. So this is a really important point, and there's something you can activate for this, of course, in your admin settings. When you go to admin and you go to marketing here, we have this toggle here at the top, which allows you to enable an opt-in and opt-out marketing system. Now, this is really important and has become even more important over the years. I remember many, many years ago when I started at CleanCloud, there weren't such stringent regulations in the marketing space as there are now. Nowadays, on the other hand, you're seeing more and more countries, more and more states adopt strict marketing measures. So it's something that, of course, I cannot know all the marketing regulations globally, right? Nor could I know them all state by state. However, if I'm looking at the trend here, I will say that it's always best to keep this in mind and to only opt people into marketing that you are sure you want to opt into marketing. The people that have given their express consent to be opted into marketing, I'm talking about. Very important, right? Now, another thing to consider, which is why I would recommend, use I don't know, ChatGPT, Gemini or something. Look and investigate this, research this, because you'll also notice that there is a differentiation between email marketing and, for example, SMS marketing. So from what I've seen in my experience, email marketing can be a little bit more, let's just say, relaxed compared to SMS marketing. SMS marketing is considered to be quite invasive. There are many more regulations in place for SMS marketing from what I've seen. And with email, again, all of this can vary state by state, country by country, so always double check this. But with email, it can be a little bit more relaxed, right? Now, of course, when you're using CleanCloud's marketing features, you are ultimately the ones choosing whether you're going to send marketing information via email or whether you're going to be sending marketing information via SMS. But keep this in mind, right? I do think the safest option to protect yourselves and to protect your business is to enable an opt-in system, right? So what goes along with this? A lot of you will already have this enabled in your account. So sorry if to begin with, some of this is redundant, but you will want this toggle here on in admin marketing to enable the opt-in, opt-out system. Another thing you'll want is to have workflow here, new order page. You will also want to make sure, I think, that the marketing opt-in mandatory customer field is on. So what does that mean? That means that if I go and add a customer in the system, let's just say, I don't know, I'm going to just put test CleanCloud user, for example. And let's say I've added the phone number, right? And I didn't add, let's say, the marketing, right? It's going to let me know. I have to mark yes or no. So this just gives you, it safeguards your business. It makes sure that, or ensures that your employees are actually asking, whether this customer wants to be opted in or out. So it just protects you. And that means that later on, maybe a week from now, a month from now, if you wanted to start sending marketing emails, SMS, and so on through CleanCloud, you know that they specifically opted in. You can even do something else, by the way, if you want to take this a step further beyond just a yes or no. An idea is you can even go to our hardware page. And in our hardware page, at the very bottom here where it says receipt printer, it's already highlighted receipt printer as soon as you land on the hardware page. But when you scroll to the bottom here, you also have the ability to tie a release form, right? So if I created a marketing consent form and I said, marketing consent forms a title, by signing below, you agree to receive marketing from us. Now I can choose to display this on the customer copy. I can have the customer sign on the screen, right? So if you have a two-facing screen, for example, our CleanCounter is a perfect example of that. For those of you that use it, you could just have people sign on the screen, right? So you have, when they do, by the way, it will store that as an image. Not only that, but I could say, you know what? I want to make sure that the marketing consent form is included on the first order of that customer, right? So you've got that there. The system stores it as an image. It is saved on that customer's profile, right? So in fact, let me give you a quick example of this. So I was adding this user before, this customer. I'm going to, for example, I think I had address as mandatory. I'm just going to put something random for the time being. We're going to say marketing opt-in. Let's just say yes, submit. And what I'm going to show you is I'm just going to choose a random item for now. But you see, as soon as I tried to place this order for this new customer, right, I can even have them quickly sign a form on the screen. Right, let's actually maybe make sure it's above the line. So I do that, submit it. It says show signature to attendant. The attendant can look at it, accept it, right? And so what happens now is that this particular user, they are going to have an image of it, right? There is no doubt that they signed this. So this is just a measure to protect yourselves even further, right? Just a reminder also that those customers of yours that would be signing up with you online, meaning they could be signing up with you via the CleanCloud app, if you have a branded app with us, or if they are signing up via the web app, right, which is like the booking tool on your website that customers can use to place orders. There is an option there where they can tick a box is a very British expression. You can put a check mark on a box to indicate that you agree to receive sort of promotions and marketing, let's say. So customers can do that themselves when they're going online, of course, in person at the store. Otherwise, you can use these measures here to protect your business. So I did just want to highlight that to you, considering how important this can be. Now, I also wanted to talk about something else which I think can be very useful, because when you're sending out marketing communications, let's say if you're sending it out via SMS, right? It's one thing to send an SMS out. Another thing, of course, is receiving it, right? So you have plenty of customers currently that are using a so-called custom phone number, right? For those of you that otherwise don't know what I'm talking about, Leonard, I believe we have a call to action also on that you can enable for other people to see on the screen. But basically, a custom phone number is a dedicated phone number. It's just a virtual phone number tied to your store, for example, right? And so any, let's say, notifications you send through CleanCloud, any marketing communications you send through CleanCloud can then always be sent from the same number, right? So it's like an established number that we find for you, we assign to your account. Remember, purely virtual, just for anything sent through CleanCloud, not a physical phone or anything like that, nothing that you can tie to a physical phone, just for any communications you send through CleanCloud. But then this allows you to have this two-way communication, right? Which is very important, because if I send an offer out and I say, hey, use this promo code, get 20% off, right? And the customer answers me saying, oh, by the way, it didn't work for me, right? You want to be able to see that information, right? And so having a custom phone number can be very, very useful. You can set this up with our support team. Have a look at the article, though. Leonard should be sharing this with you, because you'll see that not every single country can take advantage of this feature, right? So you'll see on the article the countries where this is applicable. And it is something that when I'm looking at the ideal CleanCloud setup, I'll be honest, I do think a custom phone number has to be part of that. Custom phone number also is included for those customers of ours that are on a Grow subscription plan or a Grow Plus subscription plan. If you are on any of the plans below, though, you can still get a custom phone number, by the way. So it is still possible. It's just not included in your price plan. Okay, let's move on. With custom phone numbers, just actually one last thing is you can always see the messaging history with a customer from here. You can respond from here. There will be like a chat bubble appear at the top of your screen here whenever somebody messages back that you can click on to continue the interaction. You'll also see this chat box icon at the top. In this case, there's one unread message. So again, lots of ways to understand, oh, I did receive a message back from this customer. And so your team can keep an eye on that to continue the communication with that customer. Quick pause before I get into automated campaigns. But that does pretty much everything I needed to cover for the very first part of the webinar. We'll get into automated campaigns next. Leonard, how are we looking so far? Is everything good? I think everything looks pretty good so far from what I can see.
Everything looks good.
Perfect. Okay, fantastic. Well, without further ado then, I will get into automated campaigns. By the way, for just a quick note as well, don't forget that this is only, by the way, a part one of the web of sort of the this marketing webinar series. Let's say there will be a part two, which we will be announcing as always via email, and of course in CleanCloud directly, you'll see a pop-up message inviting you to part two. So if you notice that not everything is covered today, don't worry, we will be covering more in our next webinar as well. So just to make the best use of time and to enable us to cover everything. So anyway, just to let you know about that. So I'm going to share my screen again. Let's get right into part two for the automated campaigns. Let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. Leonard, I might need your confirmation, but I believe it's all good, right?
It's looking good.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's now go into marketing campaigns. Now, 2 webinars ago, I covered discounts and promotions. Okay, and so there's all the information that you need about that. And if you need us to send that to you, obviously feel free to let us know. But why am I saying that? Because there's nothing better than tying discounts that you've created, such as even promo codes, for instance, right? And tying those to a marketing campaign, right? So let's have a look here, automated campaign. So this is what we're going to be covering now. So I'm going to be able to go to new campaign. I can name my campaign, right? So this is, let's just say 0 orders, right, is the name of this campaign. I can choose here, how am I going to send this? We have 4 options, SMS, email. You can use a nicely designed templated email. And if not, you can use push, which is sending a message to somebody that they would receive then on the CleanCloud app that they have on their phone. Or if you have a branded app with us, they would receive it on the branded app, basically, right? And so you can choose which method you're going to use, right? Let's just say we're going to use, for this example, email. If you want and you're in doubt for suggestions of, you need ideas, we do have some here where it will pre-fill information on the following pages. But in this case, I'm just going to create one from scratch. So I'm going to leave this blank for where it says campaign templates. So now we're going to put a subject here. So we could put here, no orders yet, right? I'm sorry if this is going to be a bit cringe, but no orders yet, we miss you. And then we could say the title is place an order with us soon, right? So then we can put the content here. Now, what you'll see on the right-hand side is a preview, right? So you don't need to put hi, because hi customer name is going to be there already. This is a formula so that it actually just captures the name of that customer and includes it. So it's more personalized, right? So we'll already say hi and the customer's name, right? So what we just need to think of is the body of this email. Like, what do we want it to say, right? We could say something, for example, like, we noticed that you have not placed an order with us in a while. Please use, please use promo codes. I don't know why I'm out of ideas. Promo code new order to get 30% off, right? So we can, for example, do things like this. What we can also do in an email is we can include call to actions. Now, a call to action, for example, like create order, or even using a promo code is another one, right? We can include it in a button that they click on and it directs them to place an order while using the promo code. Very useful, right? But it will only apply to those that actually have the CleanCloud app downloaded, for example. So maybe that's not ideal for you. Maybe you say, okay, well, actually, I would rather that they go and they place the order on my website, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. So I can otherwise use a custom URL in that case, right? So I can click on custom URL. I can say, I want this to direct people to, I can say, visit website is the label here, right? And I could just say custom URL is, I don't know, something like this, right? Book now, right? So let's say this is the link to your booking page of your website, right? If that's where I want to direct them to, I put the custom URL in here. They see the button that says visit website. They click on the button that says visit website and it directs them to the URL that we mentioned, right? So you can also do this, very effective, right? If your customers otherwise have the CleanCloud app downloaded, well, maybe I just say create order and there's a nice button for create order, right? So anyway, you can use this to your advantage and you can push people then to go and place their orders with you. Another thing then is rules, right? This is going to be very important because this is where you can do all your targeting, right? So I, let's say, want to target people that have no orders, right? So order count equals 0. So that's going to be one rule. Now, I might also say, you know what? I'm going to filter this out even further, right? If you want to, right? It doesn't have to be just one rule. I can add multiple. So I could say if their order count equals 0, if they have an online account, meaning they created an account via your website, via the CleanCloud app, via your branded app, then I can also target them, right? And I want to see if their order count equals 0 and they have an online account and their order count was 0 over the last 30 days, right? I'm now targeting specifically those customers. Now, I can also check, for those of you that have multiple stores, I can check if their order count equals 0 and if they have an online account across multiple stores. Very handy, right? I can exclude business accounts from this, also very useful. And I can get a preview of how many people are affected. So how many people, as of right now, would receive this message. Again, my test account, I tend to go in, delete customers, add customers, I do all sorts of testing. So not the best example, but there are 6 in this case, right? So I can see 6 customers there. I can check their information. So now I can then go to the next phase, which is the schedule. So you can either click here at the top or click on next. It doesn't really matter. Now I can choose, okay, how often do I want this to be sent on an automated basis? So let's say I want this to be sent weekly, and I'm going to say every 2 weeks on Monday and Friday, right? I want it to be sent at 10 a.m. And if somebody's already received this, I don't want to repeat it to them, right? So you can do things like this. If you've already sent it once, you don't want to resend it to that same customer, if of course they match the criteria. That's obviously a key detail, right? It's not going to, it will only resend, let's say in 2 weeks time, if the customer matches still that criteria, meaning they are still on 0 orders and they have an online account, right? Maybe on the other hand, you say, actually, you know what? I do want to resend it to the customer 14 days later, as long, of course, as they match that criteria. But once you fill all this information out, you can basically go and click on submit. And now you have a brand new automated campaign in motion, right? So you can do something like this. You can check for orders across multiple stores, and you can set your schedule, and then CleanCloud will take care of the rest, right? And so we can then see, for example, I have an example here above. You can check on the current schedule in place for when this will be sent out, when the next run is scheduled, how many times has it been sent out already, if it's enabled, and when was the last run done, for example. And even if you then wanted to edit this or delete it, add a new one, of course, you can go and do that whenever you need to. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so I'll take a quick pause, but hopefully everything's good. I want to get into otherwise email templates next. Maybe before I stop sharing and maybe reshare the screen, Leonard, how are we doing on questions and so on? Should I just continue?
I'm trying to look at one question here from Leonard, another Leonard in there. So I was trying to look at that, if you could, real quick, while I was answering it.
Okay. Let me have a quick look then. So let me see. Hopefully I'll have the answer for you. So I currently have SMS opt-in toggle off. When I turn on, what is the most effective way to get existing customers to opt in? Example teaser SMS message. Ooh, that is a good question. So meaning if your opt-in toggle is currently off, that means that everyone by default is opted in, right? I am thinking, it's hard to say. I would check your regulations. I feel like with email, remember how earlier on I was saying also that it's a little bit more lenient on email, usually, right? Always best to check, but it's usually a bit more lenient when it comes to email. And when you send an email through us, there's always an unsubscribe button, right? So you can always let people know about that as well. In case they want to unsubscribe, you can maybe stick to email if you want to keep everybody opted in that way. If you're going to, though, make sure that it's turned on, then that would mean that everyone would now be opted out. Now, we do have a way to notify every customer for what we call purely informational purposes, right? So there's a feature you can use called an informational notification, which would mean that you could, let's say, reach out to everybody in your customer database to let them know that if they do want to opt in, how they can do it. It is possible to do. There is an area within the web app or the customer app it's in like the profile area. I think it's like the contact info, customer info, something like that. It's at the very top though. And there is a way in which they can opt themselves in, right? But that would be the way to do it. The only tricky bit is, will they go in, click on a profile icon, and then change it? That's the big question, right? So it's not necessarily easy to give you a direct answer to this point, but there is that to consider. I hope that helps, but yeah, that's the best answer I can give you as of right now. So Carlos, my system is already set up for auto 10% off, so no promo needed. Could you go over that so we can make sure it's correctly done? Auto 10% off. Now, how is that auto 10% off getting applied? Is that based on like a type of order, like a repeat pickup? I might need some info, because unless the profile of the customer has that discount in it, they wouldn't be getting that otherwise, right? Or like, for example, we have like a first order discount where you get 10% off, where you don't need to put a promo code in, right? And that is in the pickup and delivery general settings, right? Alice, yes, by the way, this is marketing to existing customers, correct? And then for Brittany, is there a way to have the messages sent from customers to CleanCloud to have them redirected, sent to a work cell? That is not, I know what you mean. That isn't possible currently though. So unfortunately, that would not be possible at this moment in time. But Carlos, yeah, let me know. I will continue on, but let me know. I'll keep an eye on this. And Leonard, obviously, feel free to answer. Otherwise, maybe in the meantime, because I don't know how you have this set up, right? So anyway, we'll move on for now. And Leonard, I'll leave the Carlos with you to answer, so that you can take care of that in the meantime. Okay, so I'll share my screen. We'll get into some email templates now, which I always think are very handy and very useful. So let me just quickly make sure you guys can see my screen. Okay, all right, I believe you can see my screen. So let's get into those email templates. Now, email templates, automated campaigns, by the way, these are also Grow and Grow Plus features, right? So if you're on our Lite or Pro subscription, you wouldn't have access to these. But email templates, how do they work, right? I can go here to create an email template. And the idea is simply, I can go and move things around if I want to. I can increase the size of, for example, my logo here, as you can see. I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller. I can add padding to it as well. So you can kind of just play around with this. As you can see, I'm just adding some padding there. I can change the background color as well if I want to. So you can basically play around with this. And even, by the way, if you want to, let's say I want to move the image above, I can click here, I can move it above, right? So you can do all sorts of things here, right? Now, what you can also do is when you're clicking on, for example, text here, of course, you can go ahead and you can replace this information. You can even upload an image that you have, of course, from your computer. You can use our stock library. As you can see here, we have all these different images in our kind of stock image library here that you can also make use of. And you can even otherwise generate with AI an image, right? So you can put a prompt in here and you can say, modern, slick laundromat full of customers, for example, right? And you can then generate an image. Now, it probably will take a bit. I don't know why it's actually not working. Let me see if I were to, let's try natural. Let's try that. Okay, well, anyway, that's a bit unexpected. I'll check in and see what's going on there. But you can otherwise, generate AI generated images. You can use our stock library. You can use and upload images you've downloaded as well. So yeah, just feel free to kind of modify these email templates so that you can then use them. You can even use them, in fact, in the automated campaigns that we were just going over a moment ago, which is very handy, right? So you can create a template that you like, customize the messaging, customize the wording, and then include that, include that in the automated campaign. So it looks really nice. Then you can look at, very professional. You've got a nice image. You've got a nice design to it. And then, yeah, you can basically use that. What you can also do is you can use it. Let's say if you really like the email template you've come up with, you can also share it across different stores of yours, right? So you can do that so that it's visible there too. And that if you're going to send, this email template from another of your locations, you can do that there as well. And you can also assign actions to this template, right? So for example, in a lot of the onboardings I do, I notice that a lot of you will, for example, be sending out like a welcome email, right? So for instance, let's say somebody signed up through your website, or they've signed up through the CleanCloud app, and they're going to therefore, they went and placed a pickup and delivery order. You could assign a welcome email message to include, the welcome email message usually goes out. You can replace that with this template, right? So anytime any of your customers go and sign up and they place an order with you, let's say online, they create their customer profile, your welcome email could be a much nicer welcome email, right? And you can therefore create multiple templates for different purposes. One for people that go and create their account through the website or the app. One for people that have created their account with you in person at your store, which is from POS. One if they are attached to a business account and they were created from the POS, right? And we'll have a look at later at reviews, but you can even do this for review requests, right? If you're going to send emails to customers asking them to leave a review for your business, you can also assign an action for this. So you could have a set of email templates. You could even have one for each of these actions, right? So they get sent out automatically. And then you can have another one that you use in, or multiple, that you use in your automated campaigns, right? So again, it's just nice. You create a nice feel for, you create a nice image, you create a nice message that you want to send to your customers, and it just looks like a much more professionally designed email and looks a lot nicer. So once you're done though, and you've added all the information you need to add, you can click on Save Template, and then you can use that template right away, right? Whether it be just assigned to an action, therefore sent automatically, or assigned to no action, and then you choose when to include it. For example, of course, as we were saying earlier on, the automated campaign, right? So I can, for example, let me just see here. You can, for example, choose your, you can choose, let me just go here to new campaign. I can choose my templated email from here, for example, right? And so that's also always an option that you can use and is at your disposal. Okay, so that is email templates. I'm going to otherwise jump into reviews. Leonard, how are we looking so far?
Fine so far.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll get right into reviews then. So how do you go about setting these up? Well, you want to go to admin and you want to go to your marketing section. Now, I'm a big fan of this feature because especially, well, it's actually not only for established businesses, but also for people that are starting out, right? We all know how important reviews are nowadays. There are people that will be going on Google, seeing what your reviews look like, and if they don't find them satisfactory, then they will not even go in and place an order, right? So reviews obviously are very important, and you can't underestimate the importance of them, right? In terms of how many orders you receive and so on. So this is where CleanCloud's review tool is here to help. Now, there is also a call to action, because if you're going to be setting this up, right, this reviews area, you'll definitely need the help of an article that Leonard can kind of sort of put in on the screen there, that you can open up for later, right? But the idea with the review setup is that you basically would need to fill out these fields. Now, the good thing here is that you have multiple options for your customers. Like if you want people to leave reviews on Google or Yelp or Facebook or Nextdoor, right? Customers have options to leave then the reviews on all four of these platforms. However, and this is where the the power of the customer review tool comes in, is that you can make it so that the customer only leaves a review if they are planning on leaving a 5-star review. I'm going to give you an insight into how this exactly works in a moment. But the idea here is I can say, if they're giving me a 5-star review, then I'm going to show them the social platforms such as Google, Facebook, Yelp, and Nextdoor, for example. By the way, if you don't have Nextdoor, you don't have Yelp, let's say you have Google and Facebook, you just put in, of course, the platforms that you have, right? You don't have to have all four of them, just to be clear. But if I want to make sure that I'm getting a positive review, and that is visible on my public platforms, I could say, okay, well, this customer is going to give me a 5-star review. I therefore want to make sure that this customer leaves this review on Google or Facebook or Nextdoor, Yelp, and so on. And then they can choose the platform they're going to use to send that review. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean that we're not collecting negative feedback, right? So if they had, let's say, 4 stars and under or 3 stars and under, you're still going to see that feedback, right? It's what would be considered then as internal feedback. You still see the information of the customer that left you that review, that negative review, and you have a chance to remedy it and kind of get in touch with the customer to make things better, right? And that's what this tool is about. It's not to ignore, negative reviews that come in. But we know, I think in all of your experience, you would have seen is how unfair some reviews can be. And so the idea here is you're still collecting negative feedback. I'm going to show you also in a moment where you will be able to see that alongside all other reviews that customers give you. And so you can still see that. You can then get in touch with the customer and try to address it with them in private, right? So you can, for example, offer them credit, right? You can offer them a discount. You can, find ways to get them back as a customer, right? And so we want to sort of make as public as possible, right? The positive reviews. We want the customers to have a chance to leave a negative review, but we want it to not be so publicly or reputationally damaging, right, for your business. And so that's the idea with this tool here. So as I was otherwise mentioning, there's a way to set up all the information here, of course. For context, I'll show you quickly. Like, you can look up your business here. This is basically the name, for example, for Google that I would put in here in the Google search terms. And then the direct review URL is basically this long link here, where it says place ID equals, and then you add to the end of it whatever you find here, right? This is just to give you an example. I would really recommend, though, going through the article step by step to get this set up. You also obviously have the ability to contact our support team just in case, but this is an example of how to set up for Google. And when it comes to, for example, Facebook and Yelp and Nextdoor, you would basically just put your Facebook business page, your Yelp business page, for example, and then for example, for Facebook, you would just add reviews at the end, right? But again, just follow the article so that you can really go into this in detail. And of course, if you're stuck with this or you entered the wrong URL and you were unable to reset it now and so on, just contact our support team so they can help you out with this, of course. Now, what else do we have, though? Below, you can also set an email address if you want to make sure that any reviews that your customers receive are not getting forgotten, right? So if you want to receive an email when the customers leave an email or leave, a review, you can get an email sent to you to inform you. You can also set frequency of the reviews that you send, the review requests, to be specific, the review requests that you send. So classic example is, I'm going to send this after X orders. So send review request after the first order of this customer. Send a second review request after the third order of that customer. And send a third one after the fifth order of that customer. So you can set this and set a plan for, how often do you want these review requests to go out. You can also set a cap on how many each person receives if you ever need to. So you can set a limit. And another thing that I really like here is this ability to set a delay on the review request. Now, you might be wondering, why is that, right? Why would you set a delay? Well, because they haven't maybe even checked the bag of laundry they got back from you, right? Or, give them an opportunity to check how the order is and what their items look like now that they have been fully returned to them in a pristine condition, right? Let them get the chance to actually see it. The problem with sending them a review request right away is, just leave me a review, and I haven't even opened the bag yet, right? To see if everything looks great. And so I do recommend like a 15-minute delay, 30-minute delay is always, I think, a good delay and a good amount of minutes to set for the delay. So highly recommended. Now, of course, you also then can choose, how do you want to send the review request? Email, SMS, push. You can send it via one of them, 3 of them, 2 of them. You choose whichever one you're happy with, right, to use. Another thing is, you can also, I quite like this too, which is if I click on print review us QR code, you can print this out via a normal printer. Now, I think I actually have a printer connected, which I think I only have a black and white cartridge in. But of course, this would be in color, would have your logo on it as well. But you can put this on the front desk, right? So people have the opportunity to then just scan the QR code with their phone, leave a review with you online if you want to, right? So feel free to print this out if you'd like to get more and more reviews in for the business, right? So this is what is important about the reviews, but I want you to now see two in terms of the setup of the review system. But I now want to see or show you guys two aspects of this that we haven't seen yet. One, which is what does this actually look like for the customer that is going to leave a review, right? And then the second part of this is if you as a business owner want to check on the reviews that you've received, where do you go to do that, right? So let's first look at the customer side of this, right? So I actually opened this up earlier. So this is my, my test account and so on, the Ultimate Laundromat. And as you can see, we've got these emojis, right? So that they can choose, how was the order, right? And so I can click, let's say, on the 5-star option. And as you can see, I'm presented with, with the options for me to leave the review publicly, right? And so as long as they then click on one of these icons, it's going to direct them to leave a review on your public platform, right? So as you can see here, it brings up the window and I can basically go and then, share my experience, right? I know they were going to rate me 5 stars. So now they're going to go and do this here as well, right? I mean, I would assume, right? Why would somebody change their mind so quickly in the space of some seconds? But basically, yeah, that's how it works. So you tie it together. Google's now linked to my CleanCloud store, and then they can leave a nice review publicly, right? Because they were going to leave 5 stars. Now, on the other hand, let me see if I were to go back. But basically, long story short, I don't think I can. But if I, let's say, were to leave something under 5 stars, they will see a text box. They'll be able to still write out, what was bad about their experience, for example, and you will still, of course, be able to see this. Now, where you're going to be able to see this is you'd be able to go to your marketing page here. So that's settings, marketing. And then we have a tab on the side here called reviews, right? So I can see here, for example, this is actually a summary of the total amount of reviews across all platforms. So I can see I'm sitting on a 4.52. I can see, for example, the amount of reviews here. I can see, for example, I can filter for Google, Yelp, Facebook, internal reviews, right? And the internal reviews are the ones that we spoke about earlier on, right? Which are, let's say, if I only want people to see, the Google and the Facebook and the Yelp option, if they're going to leave a 5-star review, right? Then if they chose anything under 5 stars, it would be considered as an internal review. So I can come to this page, I can see what the customers are saying. They will have typed out, everything that they would have left you, of course, as a review. You can check this here. You can see the customer's name. You can get in contact with them then and try to address this. As mentioned before, good ideas to address this can be offering them credit, offering them a discount off the next order. All these types of strategies to, to win their business back, right? And to get it back on track. So, and obviously, with the goal of providing a much better experience for the customer on their next order. I think that's it with reviews. The only other thing I can think of when it comes to reviews is if you ever need to send a review request manually, you can. If I click on the customer profile here, we have a button to request a review. So if you ever need to do it manually, you can. Of course, you would already set up a sequence for the review request, maybe after the 1st, 3rd, and 5th order, as we were discussing before. But, if you do want to ever send it manually, you can. So just so you're aware, there is that option at your disposal. Okay, how are we doing for questions, Leonard? There's only one more part left of the webinar, which is about the website builder, which will take me probably 5 minutes or so. So how are we doing? Let's see.
Definitely a few questions in there that I was trying to answer.
Yeah. Have you answered all of them, Leonard? Am I missing any?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know if we just need to look. I don't know if you've tested it just to make sure that the Google review is coming through. But obviously, even if they leave a 5-star review, they could just leave before actually adding the Google review if they do that. So they could just click off if it's not coming through, but it'd be good to take a look just to make sure that it's working properly.
Fantastic. Let's see. So for Google reviews, where did you get that custom section we would add that directs them to our Google page? Can you go over that real quick? Where do you get that custom section? So it's basically information. Let me see here. So if you see on the screen, by the way, there's something up there where it says customer reviews, a button that you can click on. So that will give you all the information of how to actually set this up, right? That's the best place to go. But basically what you want to do is, let me just quickly share my screen again. But what you want to basically do is you want to add the relevant information. So based on that article, you would add the relevant information here. So that's admin marketing, right? And then you need to fill out these fields here. So Google has two, one here, one here. Facebook has two, one here, one here. Yelp has also two, one here, one here. Nextdoor, I believe, only has one. But basically, you need to add the relevant information for example, Google, I'll just show you quickly. But the idea is that you want to look up your business here, right? Once you've looked them up, you'll be able to take here, for example, whatever name comes up here, you need to copy it, and then you need to paste it. You need to paste it in here in Google search terms. And then for the direct review URL, what you need to do is basically this. You copy this part here. So all of this here, you copy it, you paste it into this box, right? And then what you need to do is you need to add at the very end whatever the no, that's not the one. You need to add this part. Okay, so this place ID needs to be added after the equals, right? Again, this is all on the article just in case, right? So don't worry, take your time in terms of setting this up. But that's the answer. So you take everything up until place ID equals, right? So you copy this, paste this in here, and then you add the series of letters and numbers here, right? You just copy that and then paste it to the end. So I hope that makes sense, yeah, for Google. But have a look at the article, take your time with it. Of course, I know that the setup of it can take some time, and you want to make sure you're doing it correctly and so on. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Okay, well, Leonard, if that sounds also good to you, I'll jump into the website setup bit. So we can get right into that, and we'll leave some room at the very end for questions. And I'll also mention to you guys what I'm planning to cover in more detail also in our second webinar. But for now, I want to show you the hosted website tool, right? So for some of you that don't know, we have our own CleanCloud web builder tool, right? It gives you the ability to create a sort of a web presence and a nice website with a nice design directly through CleanCloud. And so you can basically go click on hosted website, and what will happen is that you're initially presented with a so-called setup wizard. Now, something I just want to point out, right? You don't have to add absolutely everything right away, right? So even after you've created the website, you can still go back and make adjustments, right? A classic one is, for instance, some people say, well, I don't want my domain to say .cleancloud.site at the end, perhaps, right? This is a free domain we offer for you, so you can use that. You can have your business name in here, and then it just says .cleancloud.site at the end. But some of you want your business name and then just say .com, for example, right? If that is the case, you don't have to add it at this moment in time. In fact, you can't add it at this moment in time. So you need to first complete the setup wizard, and then this can be done, okay? So don't worry if you don't have all the information. Maybe, for example, you're a brand new business and you don't have an Instagram page yet, perhaps, right? Or you don't have a Facebook page yet. Don't worry. You can go and add this information back in whenever you need to. Something useful to know otherwise, and what I would recommend in terms of keywords and even just a page description, I would definitely recommend, the ChatGPTs and the Geminis of this world to, to basically have it help you provide keywords. So this makes it easier for your customers to find your website. And then the page description, you guys will have all seen this when you go on, for example, Google and you look up a website, it'll be the description that appears there right below. So, I would recommend have these AI tools help you, with coming up with the keywords and a page description. I think it's always a good idea. But again, right, if you don't have anything in mind right now, you can always add this information later, right? Now, if I go to continue, another thing, of course, that can be added later if you want to track and use analytics tools such as Google Tag Manager, Meta Pixel, for example. So you can track more information about clicks and so on from your customers. Again, if you don't have these accounts set up yet, you can also include this information later. But the key here is that what I want to show you is we offer two templates, right? We have a basic template on the right, and then we have a much nicer template on the left, right? And so the idea, though, regardless, is that once you've created your CleanCloud website via this setup wizard, you can then, of course, change around pretty much everything you need to change, right? If I want to replace one image with another one, if I want to change, the text, and I want to make adjustments to have more images appear, and the layout of the text blocks, all these types of things, right? They can be amended. So for now, what you can do is you can choose your template. You can choose, okay, am I going to be doing pickup and delivery? Am I going to be doing just in-store? For example, let's say I'm going to be doing pickup and delivery. I can choose my primary colors from here, right? I'm going to say, let's say, I'm going to try and go for blue, and I'll go for a blue, and let's go for like a white, I guess, blue and white. And then I can say, what do I want my text color to look like, right? So I'll leave black. And then again, I can change even secondary color. Again, all of these things can be changed, right? Now, it will also preload your logo if you've already had this added to your CleanCloud store, right? If you want to upload a different logo, by all means, feel free to do so. And then you can also add animations here, this gives you a nice preview on the right-hand side as well, right? So you can check this out. Basically, a lot of this is trial and error, right? But I do recommend, it's quite a fun exercise, even though it can take some time initially. But with little effort, you can have a great web presence that you can basically just set up by yourselves, right? And so you can play around also with different fonts and so on. But basically, I'm going to go just quickly and create my hosted website. It will just take a moment, but as you can see, right, I've got my website created. What I can now do is I have at the very top right corner an edit mode. So I can click on edit mode. I can, for example, scroll down. I can have a look at what is there already. If there's anything I want to change, I can change it. So for example, I can upload a new image. I can look for an image in our stock library. I can use our AI generator to create another image. So, you can really play around with this and adjust this. You can even add more blocks as well. So I want to add a text block, right? So you can do that. There's all sorts of things. But again, a lot of this is going to be trial and error. You can add and change settings here, realign things, move them into a different place. There's a lot of things you can do. But this, in this webinar, the goal is really to just show you the basics of at least getting this set up. As you are making changes, right, something that you want to maybe do is we have the ability in your website settings, you can enable the so-called maintenance mode. So this means you can make changes to your website and not have it visible to people online in the meantime, right? So this is something that definitely can be worth doing. You can hit here enabled, you can save, you can also don't forget, of course, save the changes you're making to your website as you're making them. I would definitely recommend that. But remember that in maintenance mode, people can't find your website, especially as you're still making adjustments to it, right? You probably want this on in the meantime. And then for anything else, whether it be linking your domain, making changes, changing the size of your logo and so on, right? Adding social links, all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that you can do within our web builder tool. So again, this is just a brief preview for today. but we can get into more details about the web builder also in our next webinar. And then we will also in our next webinar be covering our AI agent tool. And we'll also be covering automated flows and just some more little details surrounding marketing. So I hope you're excited for the next one. I hope you have enjoyed what you've seen today. And I'll just double check if there's any questions left, but it's been a pleasure to host you. So I'll check that out right now. I'll stop sharing my screen for the moment and let's see what you have to say. Leonard, how are we looking?
I was having some trouble looking at stuff, so that's where I was left off. I was trying to look at Leonard's store, but I couldn't get into the settings. So, oh, and by the way, the AI generator, literally ChatGPT shut it down, their old version, like today, and David's fixing it today. So it's already on the test server for the AI generator to work.
Nice.
Which I just tested as well. So
amazing.
Up and running when they deploy.
Okay, so, amazing.
It was perfect timing for that one.
Right. It's like, could it have been any better time? Thank you so much. But at least, hey, we come up with solutions quick. So that's the important thing. So I think, by the way, if it's not showing first and third reviews, that depends on the review request type you have set up, I think. So that's worth double checking in your admin marketing settings. Now, hey, Tal, good to see you here again. Oh, okay, that is a tricky one, right? That because you don't have a physical address. Ooh.
So something I was checking is that you could, if you go, because you still have a Google business page, right? So, you're still searchable on Google as Platinum Wash Dry and Fold. And if there is a review button there, you can inspect that review button, and there is a, it's called data PID in there, and that might serve as the place ID. But that might be a little bit too much to discuss right now. I might have to.
Okay. That is a good point. So, okay, let's think about this, because what I think would be great, Leonard, because that is, I know you're basically right-clicking, going to inspect, where there's all that code stuff that appears on the screen, right?
Right.
So following those instructions might be quite tricky. However, what we could do is let's talk internally, so that if you, let's say, were to contact support about this specifically, that we can then already provide something with a step-by-step. We'll try and get that sorted by tomorrow, right? So yeah, we'll talk internally about that, and we'll try and find an alternative solution for you. Of course, for Tal and for Steve, of course.
Yeah, you still have to have a Google business page. As long as you still have that, I think it should be able to be fine and work. So there's just a little more instructions for that to get it to work, and then we have to test and make sure it works.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you very much. And then Brittany, yes, I mean, this is included, right? The website is included in your CleanCloud subscription. If you have a website through Wix and you want to use this instead, by all means, feel free to do so. If you then want to link your domain, if you have a domain and you want to link it to this CleanCloud website, it's also possible to do, of course. So if it's financially sound as a decision, which I believe it should be, then feel free to make the jump. I think it's it'll probably be a good decision there. Okay. Let me see if there is anything else. Yes, Dwayne, this is recorded, so you will get the recording of this later. Evan, is there a library of past webinars we can access? Yes, there is. So usually what we do is we upload these on YouTube. So we do upload them on YouTube. I'll make sure that if you do contact support, that they have a list of these at your disposal as well, at their disposal, sorry, so that they can then send across So feel free to contact the support team, and I'll send them all the links in one place so that they have them. Owen, a lot of the functional settings were not available on our dashboard. Remember that this would be, though, so for example, let's say reviews, there are certain features that are tied only to specific subscription plans, right? Keep that in mind. So if you're not seeing it, there's a chance that you need to be on a Grow subscription in order to see it. Just keep that in mind. Fantastic. All right, Steve, looking already for solutions for the Google Place ID. I love to see it. Okay, I think that will be it for today, guys. So I just would like to thank you all again so much for your time, and it's good to see some new faces, some familiar faces, and always a pleasure to be joined by Leonard, who is always extremely helpful and helps make sure that these webinars run smoothly. So thank you so much again for your time. Look out for the invite to the next webinar that we have coming up in a few weeks, it should be. So yeah, just we'll of course reach out via email, and of course when you're logged into CleanCloud, you'll see a pop-up message there as well, inviting you to the webinar. So very much looking forward to seeing you all again, and we'll continue on from where we left off and go into more marketing features as we mentioned. Thanks again for joining. You'll get the recording, of course, and any doubts, of course, feel free to get in touch with our support team. We'll do our very best to help you as quickly as possible. Thanks again, guys, and see you soon. Take care.